Good morning, everybody. Sammy, United People's TV. Welcome to another week. Who had a good weekend? What did you get up to? United, we drew 2-2 with Forest. I'm going to run through everything from that game, from Ruben Amorim's post-match comments, certainly focusing on the positives. United, of course, unbeaten in 4 now. We'll run through the game. We'll pick out the moments. We'll speak about that 5-minute collapse. We'll speak about United's response, about Ahmad's goal. Also, a little nod towards the January transfer window. Fabrizio's been speaking about it. Of course, don't really have much else to speak about apart from transfers. That is his language. But yeah, we'll run through it all and we'll build up. Well, we won't build up to the Spurs game just yet, but that is the final game before the final international break. Man, I hate international breaks so much. We all do. I think it's from next season, isn't it? There's only 2 international breaks instead of 3, because I think one gets... The second one is a longer international break. I don't know. Still knows how it is. I think that's what's going to happen. But let me say hello to everybody, mods and members. Let's go on with today's show. Good morning to you, Carl, and everyone with the stupid bloody usernames. Thank you, YouTube. At some point, I think they'll just change back again. I keep telling everybody this. I've turned it off. I don't want all of this. But they keep changing it back, and I can't stop it. It's really annoying. Steph, good morning to you. Alex, good morning to you, buddy. JC, you're there as well. Let's see who's here from the member gang. John, Lisa, we've got Grandad Rob. How you doing, buddy? Toby, we've got Craig Knowles, we've got Imtiaz, we've got some non-members too. We've got Mick, we've got It's PKR, Andrew Wright, Australia, Gem7, and Mr. Da Vinci. Top username. I got that post-shower fluffy hair. Really annoying. Might have to go and get a haircut at some point. Silent Ronin saying 2 away games in a row. We'll speak about Spurs next. I tell you what. Anybody watch that Spurs game? My God, they are crap. I did not realise how bad they were. One thing I want to moan about to kick off today's show. You know me. I like a moan here or there. But this schedule, right? United's schedule in December. It really is ridiculous. Okay? All the festive fixtures have been chosen for TV, etc. And look at United's here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got 6 games in December. 1 8 o'clock kickoff, 2 8 o'clock kickoff, 3 8 o'clock kickoff, 4:30, 8 o'clock. 5 out of our 6 games kick off at 8 p.m. or after. And of course, we are the only team playing on Boxing Day. Bit sad that, isn't it? Boxing Day's always been like a really important... It's kind of like, it's tradition, I suppose. But 5 out of 6 games past 8 p.m. And you wonder why match-going fans are frustrated. And 4 out of those 5 games are at home. Anyway, a little bit of a moan. But yeah, of course, like United, we might not have won the league in what? 13 years? Still the main attraction. Let's run through the weekend's results, though, okay? The Premier League. Newcastle are also playing on Boxing Day. That is how it works. You do need 2 teams. But these were the results this weekend. Brighton beating Leeds. Arsenal. I mean, it really is their league to lose this season. Unless Haaland can somehow drive City to a title basically by himself. Palace beating Brentford 2-0. Wolves, they sacked their manager. Was it Vitor Pereira? 3-0. Whoops. United drawing against Forest. And like, as I said, that game there. Who watched the Spurs-Chelsea game? That's probably the first full Spurs game I've watched this season. Because I was watching because we're playing them next week. So I wanted to see how they got on. Like, I know Chelsea played well. And they really got at Spurs by pressing at them. But my God, was Spurs bad. Like, really, really, really bad. The only semi-spark, and it was a bit of a semi-spark, was Kudus. Apart from him, but man, they were... You know, it's the tempo, isn't it? When you play football, but you play it really, really slowly. Passing it across the back 4. Now you take it on. No, you take it on. They are not in a good place. And I think at the end of the game as well, Thomas Frank was asking Jed Spence and Van der Ven to go back and clap the supporters. They walked straight off. Anyway, Liverpool beating Villa, boring. Newcastle getting spanked by West Ham, which is really quite funny. City breezing past Bournemouth. People speak about City's over-reliance on Haaland and it being a bad thing. I mean, I think it is a bad thing if you rely on any individual, any team doing that. But every team's best player is their best player. And Liverpool, now that Salah has been wobbling hard, they're wobbling. United, if you were to take out, probably right now, Brian and Bumo, we wouldn't be the same sort of attacking threat. Although I don't particularly think we were against Forest. I'll speak about that coming up. But the table after game week 10, United are in 8th place. Terrible. But United are also 2 points off second. And I think that's the overarching feeling I'm seeing among United fans, and my feeling as well, is that game against Forest, which we'll speak about now, it was frustrating. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. That's what I said in my match reaction. And now that dust has settled and we're speaking about it on a Monday, it's the exact same thing. I'm frustrated that United dropped 2 points. But I do think there genuinely are positives to take from it. Sometimes you can clutch at straws. Try and find a positive or drag a positive out of nowhere when it doesn't really exist. I don't really think that's the case from that game against Forest. What's everyone's what's your overall thoughts from that game? I expected it to go pretty much how the second half played out. I expected Forest to sit deeper, to kind of box defend, to hit us on the counter-attack. And that's what they did when they were 2-1 up. I didn't expect Forest to be as expansive as they were in the first half. Ooh, can I say here, before I forget, latest episode of the podcast is out. It's out on Spotify and Apple. Go and have a listen now. United People's Podcast, me, Dan, and Nick. The video will be going up tonight at 7 p.m. as always on Monday and Thursday. The videos go out at 7 p.m. on the main channel. Alex saying, I'm very annoyed they switched off at half-time, but glad they found a way back to a draw, which is certainly the thing that Ruben Amorim is focusing on. DJ Darkus, you're saying, I'm happy we didn't lose that game. I agree with you, Ant, and I agree with the comments that Ruben Amorim has said after the game. Right? Going down there. The big teams, sometimes when you have a bad moment, you know how to respond. When you cannot win, you cannot lose. And I had that feeling today in the team. It's Ruben Amorim, by the way, that we are not going to lose this game. That's a good feeling. And after it, he just spoke about it a bit more. He said in the past, we could have lost everything in the positions, in the way that we played the game today. But today, the feeling was not that one. And down there, he was asked whether he thought that United would lose that game last season. And he said yes. And I don't think I can disagree with him. And I'm probably going to do a lunchtime video on this today because I think it's a really interesting talking point. But if you look at these games here, I'd probably argue that's 3 games in a row where that feeling exists, that we probably would have not got that result last season. Anfield, United concede an equaliser in the 77th minute in front of the Kop, and we are under the cosh. From that position of 1-1 last season, United probably would have ended up losing that game 2-1. Instead, we won that game 2-1. Brighton at home, United 3-0 up in complete control. Dorgu with an absolute wobbler. We concede. We then go naturally onto the back foot. We concede a second in the 87th minute. United last season, from that position, that game probably ends 3-3. And we throw away a 3-goal lead to draw at home against Brighton. Forest away. I wouldn't say we were in control of that first half, and we'll speak about that next. But we go in 1-0 up at half-time. 5 minutes into the second half, we're 2-1 down. From that position, you're probably going to be losing that game. But we came back, and we drew. And that's now 4 games unbeaten. And I think that's what Ruben Amorim is actually focusing on. And I actually think that is what you should focus on. And interestingly enough, that's Ruben Amorim. That's all of his Premier League games so far as Manchester United manager. Yet to go 5 unbeaten. So that Spurs game's a big one. Not just because of that. But we are, are we playing Spurs at the right time? I think you probably could argue that. I'm going to go down here and see what you're saying. JC saying, we know the team is not the complete item, let alone the squad, so we aren't doing too bad. Not too good either. It will come. I mean, dude, if I'm being completely honest, we've just taken 10 points from our last 12. We're 4 games unbeaten. If I'm correct, let's have a quick look through. I'm pretty sure that United are the second most informed team in the entire league. Let's have a look. Villa have won 4 out of their last 5, so I suppose they're probably a little bit now. We're the third best informed team then. Arsenal up top, 5 from 5. Villa, second, 4 from 5. We've got 10 points from our last 12 games. Someone down there, Abby, saying the United Strand guy is utterly disappointed. Like, dude, I think I spoke about this last week. I really don't have any ill feelings towards him. Is his name Frank? I think his name's Frank. I think he's a genuinely nice dude. I think he's going to be donating ahead to charity, and I think it started off as a bit of fun. But fella, what you've now built, I mean, you set that bar high by going 5. We spoke about this on the pod last night. It's really bloody hard to win 5 games in a row. Like there's only one team in the league that's actually done it right now. That's Arsenal. And unfortunately for you, lad, you're now a visual representation of the fact that Manchester United haven't won 5 in a row. Like, it's almost like you've accidentally set a marker against Ruben Amorim that other fans can now use to point and laugh at us. And therefore, United fans are going to be pissed off about it. So I don't think he started it with horrible intentions. I don't think it is horrible. I think it largely is still harmless. But in this day and age, you've just given ammunition to the opposition fans where they didn't need any more. That's why United fans are angry about it now. That's the way I see it. Samir's saying Liverpool did it. They went 5 out of 5 in the first 5 games. Yeah. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's bloody hard. Let me see what you're saying down here. Just saying, unfortunately, a draw this weekend has handed Arteta the manager of the month. Feel bad for Amorim. He deserved it. Saturday was the 1st of November. So, it's irrelevant. What are you saying down here? When we beat Spurs on Saturday, 20 points after 11 Premier League games will be a decent return. But, yeah. I think with draws, that's kind of the way I feel on this channel. The way I like sort of do videos every single week. I think if you win a game of football, then conversations go forward. If you lose the game, then there's critiques that you can pull from it. But if it's a draw, you're kind of in the same position as you were going into that game. I would, and as I said, I'm not doing this for the sake of just blindly holding on to a positive. But Ruben Amorim is completely right to say that we got a result from that game where we probably previously wouldn't. And we're going into that Spurs game now. You can see right there. As I said, we're 2 points off second. The whole league is tight, man. I think every single team, bar Arsenal, have had a wobbler at the start of this season. Like City losing to Villa, Liverpool, they lost 4 out of their last bloody 5 games. Bournemouth are pretty decent and in form. They lost to City. Spurs, massively up and down this season. The same with Chelsea. Every team is fallible in this league this season. Currently apart from Arsenal, because they've nailed that trend. And it certainly worked for United. We scored from 2 set pieces. Something I didn't realise was only Arsenal have scored more goals from set pieces this season than Manchester United. And we've scored, I think it's 17 goals in the league. I believe 10 of them now. No, 8. So just under 50% of our goals have come from set pieces this season, including both against Forest. Now that's progress, because I don't particularly think our attack played well in that game, yet we scored 2 goals. Cunha and Bumo and Sheshko, they didn't score in that game, and we still scored 2 goals. So yeah, I think largely I'm taking positives out of that game. I suppose it depends on what the result is against Spurs, right? Because they are there for the taking. Random question here, and we'll speak about this a lot more later in the week. How do you think we approach that game against Spurs? Because if you're looking at that Brighton game, I would say that's the best game out of the last 4. We scored those goals by winning the ball in the opposition's half. And if I was going to say how Chelsea really threatened Spurs, and when Spurs probably looked most uncomfortable, it's when they were playing out from the back with the ball. And Chelsea caught them so many times. Obviously, the first goal, Caicedo, man, he's good. Someone's down there saying 3 points between 2nd and 9th. Yeah, it's tight. Still only, a quarter of the way through the season? Just about. 10 games in. John saying play Mount against Spurs. You could well see it happen. Go at them, says Mr. Smith. Alex is saying I'd approach it like the Brighton game. Has to be an attacking team approach, says Debbie. I agree with all of you, by the way. Gia saying I think a draw away to Spurs is decent. But if we came away with a draw, it probably wouldn't be the worst result. However, I think Spurs are very, very gettable. I think if you approach that game in the right mindset with the right tactical approach, I think you can win that game of football. And with the front 3 that we've got. Someone's saying Xerxes for Sheshko? I'm disagreeing on that one. It's either going to be that front 3 that starts, or it's going to be Cunha played through the middle, Mount playing on the left, like we did away at Anfield. And it worked, by the way, against them at Anfield. Weezy saying Spurs very beatable at home. Yeah, that's where they're far better away from home. But as much as I think overall we focus on the positives from that game, unbeaten in 4, 2 points off second, came from behind, and we got a result in a game we probably wouldn't have last season. This really bloody annoyed me. I wouldn't say this goal in particular annoyed me, right? Because you've got... one sec down there. You got Ahmad marking Morgan Gibbs White, which was a mismatch. Big up to JLA, by the way. Good old James Alcott. I'm using the JLA tactics board. I'll drop a link down here because you can use this to obviously create tactics as well. But you can, if you want to run through some photos and some media, it also gives you the markups you can add on top of it. If you want to use it, there's a link there. But this was a bit of a mismatch. You've seen the best parts and the worst parts of using Ahmad as a right wing back. Worst parts are here. In these situations, he's not a defender. Right? Someone down there saying that he's not a defender. I don't blame him. I don't particularly blame him for that. It's just that was kind of going to happen. But this situation really did annoy me. Okay? For a couple of reasons. You've got the ball that's being floated in from over here. Right? There's your cross coming in. And you have got... Look. Yoro, De Ligt, and Casemiro all there anticipating and waiting for the cross. The cross comes in. Right? None of them have really got anywhere near that ball. Now, I'm definitely going to be speaking about Delo next. But Dan pointed this out to me in the podcast, and I was like, oh, you know what, fair enough. 3 players on 1, and we weren't first. That's the classic win your duels conversation. Anticipate the cross. Get on the end of it. There's 3 of you there. It's just bad defending. And then this bit was worse, as far as I'm concerned, because the ball gets won. But look at Diogo Dalot, man. The lack of anticipation really, really annoyed me. Like, how can you be that flat-footed? Savona, he's spotting it. He's seeing that the ball's going to go down there. But how can Delode be that flat-footed off a corner? It's just, mate, come on. That's just silly. That's ball watching. It's exactly what it is. Savona nicks in behind Delode, gets the goal. I know it's nothing new, and this isn't a witch hunt against Diogo Dalot, but unfortunately, this is not particularly something new. It's something that's happened quite a few times, and I'll ask you down here in the chat, right? What do you think happened in the first 5 minutes of that half? Was it just the fact that Sean Dyche got everyone G'd up at half time? They came out absolutely full of beans. Were United just not expecting Forest to be as aggressive as they were in the first 5 minutes of the second half? I don't get it. It's just, as I said, it's inexcusable. JC is saying that when Delot goes, who's next in the firing line? It's actually a question I'm going to ask you in a little bit soon. But Rev, you're saying they were just asleep. I think Ruben Amorim is completely right to focus on the positives, but also on a Monday that we're going into Carrington, they'll be running through, probably rewatching the game. I don't know the exact sort of analysis that United do, but I imagine they're going to go back, look at the game, look at the problems, go, shouldn't do that again. It's just a bit stupid. And you're saying collection of individual errors. Delot's just not good enough. Would it have happened if Maguire was on? Maguire probably wins the header. But saying that, look, that's what I mean. Like, you had De Ligt there. You had Yoro there. Yoro was just behind the ball. So I wasn't really going to get on that. And De Ligt was in front of it. De Ligt should have got that. He's got a better body position as well. We lack quality halfback, someone says down there. Mr. Smith, that was an angry Dyche after our goal. He got them fired up for revenge after the same situations 2 weeks ago. Did unorganised at the back. It's just a bit stupid, really. So I think the question I want to ask you here, and again, I asked this on the pod. Left wing back is a big problem position for Manchester United. Big problem position. Dorgu is raw, and currently, Dorgu is not a better player than the Dorgu who arrived. So I wouldn't particularly say there's been a massive development curve from him. We all know he's got the fundamentals and the potential. But I think in the technical side of things, I don't think there's been too much of a difference. So my question to you is this, right? Left wing back, I think is a problem position. What do you think is the solution at left wing back for the rest of the season for Ruben Amorim? Options that you've got, really. Play Diogo Dalot there. You could do that. You could play Dorgu there. You could, if you want to mention them, you can mention them there. You can have Mattis here, there, or Diego Leon, but I don't particularly think either of those two is a solution. One solution I think you could see, potentially, is if Martinez is fit when he comes back, then you go for Shaw and you push him back to left wing back with Martinez at left centre back. I'm seeing quite a few of you. Caleb, you're saying it. Alex, you're saying it. Mazraoui at left wing back. Now, actually, after the game, Ruben Amorim was asked about the subs and the changes that he made, and he was saying that Delot was in loads of positions down that left-hand side, spaced across, but because he's right-footed, he cut back and then went back inside, which is why he wanted to put Dorgu on. I think he wants a left footer down there. I'm going to see what you're saying down here. Shane, you're saying get Diego Leon in and give him a chance. I would personally disagree with that. Let him just stay with under-21s this season. A bit like not Diego Leon, Sekou Kone last season. Let him develop there. Don't bring him in and expose him to that. I would disagree, personally. Superstar is saying Luke Shaw at some point, but he doesn't have the stamina. No, he doesn't really have the stamina. So if Luke Shaw was to play there, I don't think that he would bring all the overlapping runs that we would need. But he'd probably be more assured in possession. I don't know. It kind of depends what you want. Dorgu and Martinez building up a relationship in training prior to his return, apparently. Shaw and Mazraoui at right back. And Yoro and Heaven at left back. Well, left and right-hand side. Shaw and Mazraoui at right. Eh? I'm just reading that comment again. That makes no sense. Play Dorgu. Has to be Dorgu. Few of you saying down there. On paper, I would much rather see Dorgu being given the opportunity to develop and improve than Delo playing a position I know he's not particularly comfortable in and not particularly play it well. If we're going to use Diogo Delo, I think he should be used as a right wing back. I'd actually argue right centre back would be a better spot for him. Someone down there saying, what about Harry Amass? Of course, he's on loan at Sheffield Wednesday. It's having an all right loan, but Sheffield Wednesday not in the best spot. Yeah, I think it's just, if I was to pick out the two problem positions in this squad, you know what I think about central midfield overall. We'll speak about that in a minute. But left wing back, I think, is an issue. Andy's saying Shaw and Dorgu to share left wing back, Litcher left centre back, and Mazraoui right wing back. Look, we'll speak about him next, I suppose. Ahmad. As I said, best and worst elements of Ahmad being a right wing back were on show against Forest. Worst was because he just kind of got held at arm's length at the back post. So now you know that, well, teams already knew this anyway, but if you can float balls into the back stick where Ahmad is defending, his positioning was spot on, but it was a bit of a mismatch. Morgan Gibbs White just held him. And to be fair to Gibbs White, it's a bloody good header. Like, Senny Lamont's his leap was huge. He's a big ass goalkeeper, isn't he? And even he was just past his finger. It was a good header. Ahmad, that goal was special. Really, really was. And Murillo, man, I hate Murillo. I only hate Murillo because every time we play him, he seems to have a blinder. Milenkovic and Murillo are definitely Forest's two most dependable players. It's probably the best way to describe it, because Elliot Anderson was clearly a better footballer. But maybe that's why we weren't throwing crosses into the box. But that goal from Ahmad was absolutely special. Someone down there saying switch Ahmad to left wing back, plays Mazraoui at right wing back. Ahmad at left wing back, I suppose, is an interesting concept. But Amorim likes his right wing backs, with Kenda. Kenda was the best example of it at Sporting, to be left-footed so they can cut inside, as well as go on the outside. Maybe there is a possibility of Ahmad playing there, though. Speaking after the game, Ruben Amorim was speaking about Ahmad, saying about how the goal from Ahmad lifting fans, but he feels that Ahmad still has plenty more to come. And I don't think any of us would really disagree on that. I think Ahmad's, by his own standards, he would admit that he had a slow start to the season. Then he had a family bereavement, and was it 1 or 2 games he was missing? It was 1 game for sure. I think it was a Chelsea game, can't remember. And he's come back since. And obviously got the assist away at Anfield for Mbumo. He got the goal here at Forest. He's starting to really contribute to the games. I personally wouldn't move Ahmad to left wing back. I can understand the logic of it as a concept. As I said, you're kind of like just throwing options into the mix, because I think Amorim's going to have to test some. The only thing I don't want is for Amorim just to continue at Delo at left wing back and just try nothing else. Whether that's Ahmad playing there or whether that's Shaw and Martinez playing, I don't know what. But Ahmad, I would keep him at right wing back. I think is his best position in this squad. Let me see what you're saying down here. Rob, you're saying no point having Šeško up front if the wing backs are cutting inside. How many times do we have to get to the byline and cross it? How many times do we, get to the byline and cross it for him? It was one thing I really wanted to happen in that game, and I thought it was going to be a way that United would be able to break down that deeper block by Forest, which ultimately ended up getting frustrated with quite a lot in that second half. but we didn't really swing many crosses in. There was once where Mbumo swung it to the back post, and it looked like Šeško was going to get on the end of it, but he didn't. Did anybody, by the way? Anybody bet on Casemiro score a header? Because I definitely said that. I put a fiver on it. 16-1. Take the victories. Samir saying, isn't Mantato left-footed? He is left-footed, but he's not made his debut yet. Mbumo did look for Šeško a couple of times early. Šeško in that game. I think that was... I'm not going to sit here and say I'm massively concerned with how United's attack played against Forest. But I probably would say that's the first game where collectively, Cunha, Mbumo and Šeško didn't really do much, did they? I think Šeško, there was that... Who was it? I think it was Mbumo down the left with a lovely ball over the top. It was a heavy touch from Šeško that took it away from himself. I think he got passed through by Cunha, took a snapshot just wide. But I'd say that's probably the first game with those three, from an attacking perspective, but certainly the last few games, they didn't really have much. So it's good that we got 2 goals regardless of that, and they came from set pieces. Let me see what you're saying down here. Mikey, you're saying, or MK, you're saying that Šeško was awful? I don't think he was awful, man. But I think by their own standards, I think they were quite quiet as a collective. Dazzy's saying Šeško worked his socks off. On another day, he controls 2 of them chances and bags of goals. His first touch should have been better, says Akash. Stephen saying, just throwing a question out there, is Delo Ruben's son? Don't know. I swear, I saw something. I don't know how true it was. Just something about the Delo and Amorim being related. Someone doing some digging in the past and saying that the great granddads and the blah blah blah. Anyway, yeah, I think they're all quite quiet. And Stevie down there saying that rotate the front 4, and hopefully when one's dropped, they will be up there. They'll up their game. And Ruben Amorim was asked about it after the game about like the subs. I don't particularly think what attacking set like the subs that we made. Yoro came off of Mazraoui, and who was it? Dorgu came on for Delo. They were the 2 subs. And Amorim was asked about it after the game. Like, what attacking subs could he have made? You could have brought Xerxes on. You could have brought Mount on. I think so, right? They're the main 2 attacking subs that you could have had. Do I think that would have like transformed United's chances? Not particularly. Because Forest was sitting deeper, so I think the qualities of Mount would have got nullified because they're basically on the edge of their own box anyway. Xerxes, unfortunately, like I saw against Brighton last week when he was brought on and tried to do the hold-up play that Šeško was doing. He couldn't do it. The ball was bouncing off him. I'm not really sure attacking subs would have changed too much. G-Man saying Šeško should have come off for about 65 minutes for Mason Mount. I think that's kind of the only one that you could really argue is probably, I would agree on that, is if you're going to have one sub, it would have been Mount for Šeško, moving Cunha centrally, moving Mount to the left wing and playing how we did against Liverpool. Jonah saying that you should have brought a midfielder in. I think that's a good sort of talking point next because, again, if I can focus on the positives and the negatives of Casemiro's game. Positives, the goal. Positives, Casemiro, he's certainly in a good run of form, but I don't particularly think you can look at that game against Forest and pick out too many positives from how we played in midfield. And just, I'm not being overly negative here, but I think it's just obvious who the best midfielder was on that day. Like, what did you make of Eddie Anderson's performance? You know full well that we've been speaking about him this week. It was a build-up to the Forest game. It was appropriate to speak about the player who we may well be looking for in the January transfer window. I'm going to run through a little video from Fabrizio Romano next. But Elliot Anderson was everything that I expected him to be. And you know how I said that he's kind of the three, Wharton, Anderson, and Baleba, he's your most all-action midfielder. And you couldn't have got a better example of it than that game. Defensively, he was biting at the heels of Cunha, of Mbumo, of everyone really on the edge towards the edge of that Forest 18-yard box. He was a pest. Out of possession. In possession, very good as well. Good passing range, through balls. He put the ball into United's final third 15 times, which was one more time than Bruno Fernandes. So he actually outperformed Bruno in terms of the progressive passes. Someone down there saying he was good but nothing special. I mean, for me, he was quite convincingly man of the match. So I'm going to disagree on that one. Alex is saying he's annoyingly good. Unfortunately, that game puts it more in the spotlight, I think, of his qualities, but just on paper right now, he does strike me as the best option of the three. Now, we're going to be doing our third video in the scouting series. It's going to be on Adam Wharton next. And I know what to expect from that video. I know what to expect from Adam Wharton already. I'd be interested to find out more about his work rate off the ball and what he brings to the team in that sense. But Elliot Anderson, he passed his audition, didn't he? You know, if you look at the Carlos Baleba performance, was weak for Brighton at Old Trafford. That was the opposite there. Yeah, NTAs are not going to disagree with that one. Saying he's not worth 100 mil, and he's definitely not worth 100 mil. So bloody hard to put values on football players these days, man. It really is. Because as far as Forest are concerned, if they've got... And City will, like, you look at Elliot Anderson, you go, oh, man, you could easily see him. You could easily see him going in and replacing Rodri. So if City are going to be in for him, and I'd be surprised if Liverpool weren't in for a midfielder of his ilk in the summer. So probably you're going to have Liverpool and City both sniffing around him as well. And then if United are too, then simply by logic of demand, the price goes up. Forest are going to want Caicedo prices. And maybe if the demand is high enough, it's something that they're going to be able to command and demand. But he played well. And what do I think of Morgan Gibbs-White? I think he got bloody held hostage to stay at Forest this season. That's what I think. Good player. Nah, not somebody I think that I would be looking at United to sign because we signed Cunha and Mbumo. Not that they play in the exact same position, but I see him as a progressive, more of an attacking midfielder number 10. So yeah, like as good as Casemiro was with the goal, I actually think our midfield kind of got overran. Quite convincingly, really, by Forest. And mainly Anderson. But we need to go. I hope Forest go down. His value drops. I mean, that'd be nice. Someone talking about DeMarco down there. We spoke about DeMarco in the pod, actually. What he does for Inter. After the World Cup, he will cost even more. And it may well be that United go after him in January. And that we can end on, like, as I said, look, overall, I think there's more positives than negatives to focus on from that game. I really do. But that 5-minute period, it's inexcusable for United to just switch off like that at the start of the second half. But at the very least, from that position, our heads didn't go. We didn't lose complete focus. Previously, we would have. And then we brought it back to 2-2. And if Murillo wasn't on the line, anticipation, defending, we would have won that game 3-2. And people would be speaking about how incredible the comeback was. So fine margins, I suppose. But Spurs is next, and it's a big opportunity to play them. As I said, like the last thing I want to speak about for today's show, last couple of minutes, we can have a little conversation about transfers. This is from the latest Fabrizio Romano video on United's approaching the window. Now, this is nothing new, but it's also very correct, and it should be what we do.
someone joins in January is a player who Man United can trust for the present, but also for the future. This is the message of Ruben Amorim. Let's not add players who can help for a few games and then they go back to their club. Let's add someone who can help us today and tomorrow. So this is the message of the coach, and this will be the idea also for the January transfer window. So Manchester United for sure want to watch in January with players requesting to have an opportunity on loan, Kobe Main or Zirze, with Man United expected to decide on them, and then with...
Right. Effectively what he's saying is United have no intention of going after any short-term options. And me putting this up, this isn't anything new. Do you remember the player that we were linked with last January? Didn't end up joining United, joined somebody else. And on paper, at that moment in time in the window, we were desperate for attacking support. That was when Højlund was like right in the middle of his poor period. We weren't scoring enough goals. We needed some more for the second half of the season. And there was one option that could have happened that United decided, no, we're not going to go after him and we're going to wait. At that time, I felt like it was a risky play. But ultimately, it proved to be the smarter play because in the summer, we then had the space and the time to go and sign Cunha and Bumo and Šeško. Alex and DJ Darkus, you're correct down there. Matthias Tell. So we were heavily linked with signing him. I think they got him on loan. Was it a loan with an obligation? I can't remember if it was. I think it was a loan with an obligation. But we didn't go after him. So last January, that was the approach that United had. Don't go after someone just for the sake of bringing in someone that's going to be like a numbers game. We're only playing once. We should be focusing on players in the long term. And I think that's the only approach it should be. And that's why I think it's going to be interesting to look at Anderson, Wharton, or Baleba. Because we know what our summer transfer strategy is going to be. And you might be bored of me repeating this, but it's just one that always sticks in my head is the Luis Diaz to Liverpool. They had no intention of going to sign him in January until Spurs put in a bid for him and were on the verge of signing him. So what did Liverpool do? They didn't sit and wait. They went and signed the player they wanted to sign in the upcoming summer, signed him 6 months early, accelerated a plan that already existed. That's what United need to do in January if we're going to sign someone in January. And I don't know our financial capacity to do so. I think we extended the overdraft, didn't we? I don't know how much is left of that overdraft. Do we get more financial results before the January transfer window comes out? Don't know. Gus? I mean, that's not going to happen. Bring Semenyo first for me, a more crucial signing. Semenyo? How on earth are you looking at Semenyo as a more crucial signing? That almost sounds like rage bait. Nah. I've seen some people try and suggest that Semenyo should come in and play left wing back, and I want to slap everybody. Neville, how come you aren't talking about Angelo Stiller? It's because I don't know enough about him yet. Angelo Stiller is our next player that we're scouting in the series is Adam Wharton. Our player after that is Angelo Stiller. And after I've watched a lot more of him, because he's a player I can see, he was a player that we were linked with last summer, a player that Fabrizio said that we're interested in again now. So maybe Angelo Stiller is going to be someone that we go after. That we do all the scouting and we go, that's the man that ticks the box for us. Matches the data, also passes the eye test. But we're going to cover Adam Wharton first. And I do think this is the right approach for United. Don't go out and sign anybody in January just for the sake of it. The only reason we should be active in January is if we sign somebody that we would otherwise sign in the summer. Only bring someone in who was part of our long-term strategy and plan. No short-term fixes. No Igalo's on loan. Or, bloody hell, who else do we get on loan? Weghorst. You know how January transfer windows typically go for United. A little bit of a shit yourself. A little bit of a panic. Balls. Who can we get in on loan? I don't know. Bring him in. Nah, screw that. If we're going to sign someone in January, make it a statement signing that is one of your players that you would sign in the summer. It means you're going to be a little bit less active in the summer, but it doesn't matter because you've just brought forward plans 6 months rather than executing other short-term plans. That's what I think. Someone down there, oh, look, the GOAT gifting 5 memberships. Good morning to you, man. Who had a good weekend? Man, I'm tired, man. I had a big one on Saturday. It was kind of like a Halloween party and a housewarming party. So I'm feeling sorry for myself still. That's when you know you're in your 30s. It takes a lot longer to feel normal again. Bring in Schneider. Nah, sod Schneider. Let's bring in Nicholas Gaitan. Man. We need to sign a few bullies like Haaland. Man, I hate how much I like Haaland after he started his YouTube channel. It's like, God damn it. I'd rather just hate you. It's much easier if you're just a bit of a dick. You just be a bit, it's fine. Then I can just agree to hate you. It's normal. Still, I can't play Casemiro's role. He's a number 8. Okay, these things are all going to be covered. Need a Yap Stam 2.0. I don't know how active we'll be with a centre-back this summer. Maybe one. Especially if Maguire goes. I think United could sign a wide centre-back. Just as a potential. We'll find out. But yeah, I'm going to wrap that up for today. My lunchtime video is probably going to be focusing on the positives. Not just for the sake of it, but because they really are bloody positives. As I said, we are the 3rd most informed team in the league right now. And you want to talk about a little bit of progress? I'll tell you a little bit of progress here to wrap it up. The fact that we're annoyed that we came away from Forest with a 2-2 draw is reflective that people are starting to get a little bit more belief in this team and in the fact that they can actually deliver results. It wasn't an easy game at the weekend, but if you had asked me, would I take 10 points from Liverpool away, Forest away, Brighton at home, and Sunderland at home? You're damn right I would have. And that's not Captain Hindsight speaking. That's just the truth, right? But thank you all for tuning in, as always. Good to kick off another week. I'll be here throughout the week, 10 a.m. You know the drill. I'm always here. All right? I'll see you at lunch, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. Take it easy, everyone.